Do you ever wish that your paintings had that really bold, impressionistic style, but somehow you end up adding too much detail? Maybe you start with that intention of creating something loose and expressive and painterly, but then by the time you're done, it feels really refined, too controlled, and not at all that painterly abstract look that you were going for. If this does sound familiar, then this lesson is going to be a game changer for you, because today I'm going to be sharing the techniques that are going to help you create this beautiful impressionistic painting with that painterly expressive bold brushstroke style in your artwork. And this is going to be a really fun, playful way to paint. I think you're going to love it. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if you really love painting florals and you want to dive even deeper into this painting style, I have a class called Impressionistic Florals that's going to give you the exact tools you need to loosen up and paint with confidence. In this class, we create 3 stunning floral paintings together, step by step, so that you can truly master this bold, expressive style. So make sure that you join us there. I'll pop the link in the description box and also in the comments section, so you can go and find that really easily after this class. So let's talk about the supplies that we're going to need for today. So for supplies, I've got a canvas board, I've got a palette knife, which we can use to do a bit more impressionistic style. I've got 2 flat edge brushes. These are both Galleria 1-stroke range, kind of like a larger one and then a medium. Colours, I've got titanium white, magenta, yellow, phthalo green and cobalt blue. Please just use whatever you have available. Please don't feel like you have to have the same colours or supplies that I have. You really don't, you could just use whatever you've got. And I've got a jar of water here, just to the right of me, and like an old rag, old towel to wipe any excess water off of my paintbrushes. Now I want to create a little colour palette for today's painting to make sure that we stay on track, make sure that our colour story is going to be really nice. So I've just been on Pinterest and I just found you can scroll through just loads of colour palettes. I actually found a colour palette I really like. So what I'm going to do is have just like a little bit of paper, just do some colour swatches, and then we can keep that really handy as we go about the painting. So you can choose totally different colour palette to me. You could just head to Pinterest and find a colour palette that you really like. The one that I really like is, to be honest, that colour, kind of like that pinky colour, is kind of just that magenta, which is primary magenta. And that's actually exactly the colour, which is kind of lucky. The next colour that's there is cobalt blue, but it's making it a little bit purple, so I'm just going to take some of that magenta. It's called cornflower, so it makes me think of like just that purpley, I think we'll add a little bit of white here. It's like a purpley blue, a really lovely colour. And I'm thinking that we can incorporate this probably into the background. And what's nice about having a colour story before you begin is it stops you kind of going wayward. And once you kind of add too many colours, it really disrupts the harmony of the painting. So this is a really nice idea. And this is what I do for my personal paintings as well. Golden, I think we want a little bit of orange in this warm yellow. That's right, something like this. And then we're going to add a bit of white to that too, to have a very light yellow. Just going to lighten it up a bit because these colours are quite heavy so far. That's nice. And then I think we need to add a green in there. So although on my colour palette that I've looked at online there's no green, of course we need one because we've got some stems. So it's just deciding whether I want kind of like a a bluey green, something like that. Or if we want a yellow green, something like that. So I think the bluey green is nicer and it's more harmonious. So that's just mixing a bit of the phthalo green with a bit of the cobalt. Add a bit of white to that. And perhaps a bit of magenta as well, just to take that down a notch. I think that's a lovely colour story, and I'm going to keep this really handy to keep me on track with my colours. I think what I'll do is I'll just pop that in there, and that will give me a really nice reminder about what colours I'm going to be using. So I think to start off, I'm going to create a really nice background, a nice vibrant background with kind of like a creamy orange. This is going to cover the white, and it's going to give the painting a nice vibrancy behind the colours that we add. We're going to, of course, be painting all over this. Okay, lovely. I'm just going to wait for that to fully dry and rinse off my brush really well. Okay, so next, what I usually do at this point is start drawing in. So we've kind of toned the background, and I'm going to use paintbrush and paint to kind of sketch in where we want everything. To do that, I might take some of this cobalt blue and just use that to map out. So first of all, I kind of want to pop in the constraints of the vase. The vase on my photo is quite large, so I'm going to take that down quite a lot. And for this composition, we've got a more central composition. So I want to pop that in the center. The vase, I feel like, is not important at all, but it's just a way to hold the flowers. And then I'm going to start mapping in these tulips. These are going to be very kind of abstract and impressionistic in nature. And once you kind of mapped in where you kind of want them to be, you can kind of just review how you've kind of set them apart, where you want them to be. And then the next thing is deciding which tulip is going to be which colour. And this is where we can really start to think about the composition. So I'm going to start my red because that is kind of like my most sort of vibrant colour. And kind of also squinting, that's going to help me with like an impressionistic style. I'm just going to literally just take my big wide brush and just use it to really create a shape. And I'm not going to worry about like shading or anything like that. I'm just kind of thinking about the shape and just popping that down. And I might move this tulip slightly actually to there. I'm going to keep it to 5 so that we have 5 red tulips because it's such a bright colour that I'd like it to be an odd number. And this is so fun, just like using these colours. And I didn't have one here, but I'm just going to add a little tulip here after looking at it. So it's really about like moving the composition around as you're kind of adding these flowers. And I've got 5 red flowers, I'm really happy with that. Now I'm just going to rinse off my brush, and I'm going to do the same but with the yellow ones now. So I'm going to start with my darker yellow. So that was a bit of yellow with a bit of the magenta in, like a creamy golden yellow. And I'm going to do exactly the same here, and kind of thinking about almost like imagining it there before you place it down. So I definitely want a nice big yellow one here. I want one here. So you can see that although I started with my drawing, I am actually moving things around a little bit as well. I think what I'll do is I'll have one here, but it's going to be a smaller one in the background. And then same with this one. Little one sort of peeking out. And then probably one here. So I've actually kind of ignored my drawing quite a lot. In fact, actually now that one's there, I don't think I want one that low down. So I think I might have to see where that one's gonna go. This one here, it's kind of loose. I'm gonna kind of build it out as I go. I think I'm gonna pop it here instead. So then once you pop those in, kind of stand back, have a little think about it. I think there definitely needs to be one here too. So I am gonna pop one here, just next to that one there. So this is kind of like the bones of our painting. The method I teach is quite different to having a very set drawing. I like to move around with the painting as it comes together and kind of almost react to it, because I feel like you can have a plan for the painting, and I definitely advise for a plan, like we planned the colour story, things like that, but also we do need to be able to kind of evolve with the painting as it comes together too. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my green, I'm going to pop in some of those greeny colours. So to do that I added a little bit of the cobalt blue, some of the white and a bit of the magenta, just to take that kind of saturation level down. So it's like a nice kind of minty pulled back green. And I'm going to start to kind of pop in around those colours. See, this colour works so lovely with the red because it's kind of like opposite on the colour wheel. So like red and teal are actually opposite each other, so that's why it just pairs really nicely. And I'm kind of now going around the negative space around these tulips and keeping it kind of like abstract, very impressionistic, and thinking about those stems coming down. We'll do lots of pulling back and taking away too as we go. I'm going to add a bit of white to that and kind of pull in these nice like impressionistic strokes. Okay, that's enough. So next I'm going to kind of add a background layer, because at the moment we've still got this very vivid yellow, and I think that will put off some of our colours. So we need to have a think about what we kind of want as the background. I'm kind of thinking this lovely cornflower blue would be nice. Where would I want that? I think a nice cornflower blue along kind of like the bottom, and then maybe coming in from the top too. Let's see how we feel about it. So we need the cobalt blue with some of the magenta and the white. And I think that's going to go really nicely against the yellow. I think that's a little bit too dark for now, so I'm going to take some of the white and kind of use, you can see how much paint I have here as well, loads of paint on my brush, and this is what's going to create this really lovely impressionistic style. You can't create abstract marks loaded with paint without actually using the paint itself. And this is so playful. This is what's really nice about impressionistic florals, is you get to really play with the colour, you get to experiment. So if you feel like you don't like these colours, or you want to you feel like yours is heading in a different direction, please follow that intuition. That intuition is there for a reason, it's very strong. And it's your creativity wanting to break free. So please listen to that. These tutorials are literally just kind of like a sounding board for you to be able to play off from. I don't want you to feel like you have to fully copy every move I'm making. And I'm kind of like just moving my brush around. I might even leave some of that kind of first layer peeking through in places. And then inside the glass, it's going to be, because it's obviously glass, we're going to be able to see through it. So I like to kind of incorporate bits from the background, and we can go and finish the glass in a moment, because at the minute it kind of disappears. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my brush and just kind of like step back and take a minute and let that dry. So let's add a little bit of finesse to these tulips now. We've got the very basic outline, but we want to start adding in some details. Now when I say details, we want to stay away from adding very minute details with a little brush, because this is going to be an abstract impressionistic painting, of course. So I'm still going to be using my big flat wide brush, but we're just going to have a look at each tulip and really break it down into the basic kind of shapes. Now, let's start with the yellow, I think, for now. If we take some of the yellow and, oh, we need some more white here. And we'll start with the lightest shade of yellow, and then we'll kind of build upon that. So kind of taking that very, very light yellow. We can kind of look at the reference photo and just kind of use the colours as like building blocks. And I'm going to take a bit more of a mid-yellow. It's going to be in kind of like a nice in-between of that orangey golden colour and also the darker one. Just adding like a little pop of colour on there. And you can see them sort of start to take shape here. Then I'm going to recreate that one we've already got with the magenta, that golden yellow, the one we did first. Be even a bit orangey. And just kind of having a look at where those shadows might be. And then you can kind of step back and just take stock, just take a minute. Then while they dry, I'm going to do the same with the red. So I'm going to take some of, yeah, pretty much just the straight magenta. And I'm going to have a look at each flower and kind of start to build it up again. This is where I'm going to really start considering those shapes now. Because with an impressionistic painting, it's really the shapes and the values and the colours that tell most of the story. So I will be going and carving some of these shapes again using the kind of background layers. Okay, and whilst that is still slightly damp, I'm going to take some of the white, perhaps a bit of the yellow. So we've got like a warmy orangey colour. And I'm going to start to bring in some of the highlights into those tulips. And then I'm going to take some of the yellow, this like golden yellow or any kind of yellow really, and just pop in some of those little like details on those red tulips. I'm just going to use my brush to create a really nice effect. So we're kind of giving the sense of tulips without actually having to put down each part of it. We're just kind of telling the story of the tulip. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is kind of do the negative space. So a lot of these tulips need, their shape just needs to be tidied up a little bit. So I'm going to take some of that green, I'm going to add a bit of the magenta, get a really nice kind of dark pulled back green. And then we're going to kind of squint at my reference photo, just have a little look at some of the shapes of these tulips and kind of knock back some of the shapes. So it's like this pushing and pulling. And I would quite like to get a really dark green going here with a bit of the blue as well for some nice shadows, and I'm going to pull those into the vase as well. So for me guys, this really is an experiment too. I haven't, you know, predestined this painting. I've not kind of worked it out already. I'm just literally going with it in real time with you about how I'd kind of approach a painting like this. And for me, doing impressionistic paintings is very experimental. I'm going to add a little bit of white to this to get those highlights. In fact, now I've done that, I feel like what I want to do is not add white, but add yellow. Oh, we need more yellow. Add in a bit of yellow to this to create just that lime green. I'm going to use this for the highlights because otherwise it's a bit too, I'm not sure, a bit too bluey. So I think adding this other green will just give it a little kick. And perhaps I'll take some like foliage down there too. Okay, and then I'm going to rinse my brush off. Okay, so I really like the way it's going. I think we need to obviously define the vase a little bit and change up the background just a little bit. We can use a palette knife for this, or we can keep going with the brush. It's totally up to you. I might just start adding a little bit of texture in. And what I think is very colourful, so I'm going to just take down some of these kind of colours a little bit, add like a little bit more of some neutrals. So I'm going to take some of the cobalt blue. I'm going to add a little bit of the pink and a little bit of the yellow. Get this nice kind of dark colour, and I'm going to bring that in almost like the tabletop. You can also bring it kind of into the vase. Through the other side. I don't kind of want to really do it both sides. I might even take some white with that. For like a beige colour. I don't know if this is going to be a mistake, but let's try it. Just to knock it back a little bit. And this is where you can just basically start playing, have fun. Now I know these colours don't look nice, kind of just like a grey, but actually it's these greys that can make the other colours pop. So I am going to incorporate some of these greys. Especially into the background. And then I'm going to take a white to that and start to kind of build up some areas of the vase. So I'm going to take it on the edge of my palette knife, just kind of create some little lines. Maybe that's the water line. And start popping in kind of like the idea. That this is a vase. I'm going to take it just on the edge of my palette knife and just pop a few little moments here and there. Just to give this kind of feeling of a vase. And then you can kind of use up the greens as well, because obviously it would have lots of reflections in the vase of the greens. And you can kind of go in and add those in. I actually love painting glass. It's really fun. Perhaps we'll do a different lesson on that another day. But yeah, you can basically just keep on playing until you find something that you're happy with. You can play around with the background, pushing and pulling that away. You can add all sorts of ideas into your painting. We can even take some of that kind of cornflower blue, but push it so that it's a really nice light colour. So a lighter version of that same colour, so I've just added white and just kind of pull that in as the light source. So you can just keep playing. The other thing I would like to do actually is add just a little bit more definition and highlights to some of these tulips. And this is where you can kind of pull it back even more, back into a less abstract but more impressionistic. Is all dependent on like how detailed you get. I do quite like the push and pull of a lot of abstract, but then popping in some like shading and things like this. Start adding some of those more cool, warm shadows, getting a nice balance. And then what might be really nice to kind of end on is taking some of that magenta. It's all a bit contaminated with blues, so I'm going to take it straight from the tube again. And just add in like another zingy pop of colour. And add in that bit of texture again. And I think I'm going to leave it there for today, but continue just to play around and have fun. We can do so many different experiments like this, and it really just gets us thinking about the way that we want to use our paint. I've just noticed this shape of tulips bugging me, so I'm just going to pull that in. You could probably keep playing around forever, but yeah, you can just push and pull with the painting, working with the background, with the subject, and working through those different parts at a time. And I just hope you had fun today most of all, and that maybe it kind of opened your eyes to a new way of playing with paint and just having fun and seeing what comes of it. Oh guys, that was so much fun. I absolutely love having a good play session with my paintings, and I love creating impressionistic artworks. That's what I love about this style, is that you can be really bold, fun and playful and really inject your own personality into your work. So if you love this style but you don't quite feel confident enough to fully unleash your own ideas, make sure to join us inside the Impressionistic Florals class. Right now it is available for only $7 for lifetime access. Honestly, I don't know how long it's going to stay at that price, so if you've been wanting to loosen up in your paintings, now is the time to jump into that class. The link is in the description box, and I'll also pop it in the comment section as well. Just click there and get started. People inside the class are already creating incredible paintings and growing in confidence, so I'd love for you to experience that and be a part of it. So head there now, join us, I'll see you in class.